important. So have you ever noticed in your life that there are things that you try to avoid? So just think about things that you try to avoid. You try to avoid the things that you don't like, right? You try to avoid the things that when you think about those things or you encounter those things, you feel bad, right? You try to avoid those things. So the logic usually is something like, if I think about this thing, or if I encounter this thing, then I feel bad. And therefore I should avoid it. Right? Because I don't want to feel bad. So I should avoid it so that I don't have to feel bad. Because who wants to feel bad? Anybody here who wants to feel bad? We don't want to feel bad, right? We want to feel good. It's natural. So the logic seems like good logic. But unfortunately, it's very flawed. Because in order to not think about the thing, you have to first think about the thing. So somebody already typed into the chat, energy flows where attention goes. Yes. And so this is often part of the logic, because they said, well, yeah, but Joey said the law of attention is that whatever you put your attention on, that's where the energy goes. And therefore, I would be a fool to think about the things that I don't want to think about. Makes perfect sense, except that in order to not think about the thing that you don't want to think about, you have to first think about it. You see how that works? So if you're trying not to think about something, if you're trying to avoid something, just pay attention and notice where your attention's already going. Your attention's already going to the thing that you're trying to avoid. By trying to avoid it, your attention is going to it. Therefore, what happens? You get more of it in your life. So I'm going to propose to you today some very simple, very powerful things that you can do to remedy this. And this is going to be enormously helpful, because whatever you are trying to avoid in your life, if you try to avoid it, then your energy goes to that. And what that means is two things that are undesirable to you. Number one, you're giving energy to what you don't want. Number two, you are not giving that energy to what you do want, right? So it's a double whammy. You say, I just don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this. Don't think about it. Avoid it at all costs. And by doing that, you're putting your energy toward the thing that you don't want. And because you're investing that energy in what you don't want, you don't have that energy to invest in what you do want. And then you wonder, why am I not getting what I want? Now, this can happen so that it becomes an unconscious habit. So oftentimes we will try to avoid things so consistently for such a long time that eventually it becomes like white noise. What do I mean by that? So if you've ever had the experience where if you've been in a room with a refrigerator where the compressor is running for a while, after a while you tune it out. You stop noticing it. It's only when it shuts off that all of a sudden you realize, wow, it's so quiet all of a sudden. Because your nervous system will tune out whatever it deems is unnecessary, right? Because if the thing is just constantly there, your nervous system says, well, why am I going to pay attention to this? It's just always here. It's not important. I don't need to give attention to it. So if you have a habit of trying to avoid something that has been going on and on and on and on and on, eventually your nervous system, to save energy, says, well, just tune that out. I'll just maintain this avoidance strategy, but you don't need to be aware of it. So oftentimes you're not even consciously aware of all of the avoidance that's going on. But you can become aware of it. Right? Like when continuing with that metaphor, when the compressor shuts off on the refrigerator, and suddenly you realize, in contrast, wow, it's so silent. You can then reflect and notice, oh yeah, the compressor was running. The refrigerator was making noise. That's what it was. So the contrast is really helpful because it helps you to become aware. So you can become aware of all these things. It's just that moment to moment, you might not be so aware. But if you just are watchful, observant, you'll start to notice these things. So that's also the power of intention. If you set the intention to become more aware of all the ways in which you have been squandering your energy trying to avoid things that you perceive as undesirable, you will become more consciously aware of those things. Now, why would you want to do that? Because hopefully it's clear, but I'll just kind of spell it out so that it can hopefully be really clear. So on the surface, okay, you might be thinking, well, I don't want to feel bad. So I should try to avoid the things that cause me to feel bad, right? And I can understand that intention, right? I mean, I also intend to feel good, right? So like you, I intend to feel good. But wouldn't you say that it's more important to actually be free than it is just to momentarily feel not bad? Because if we kind of tell the truth about it, it's not really about feeling good. It's really just trying to avoid feeling a little bit bad here and there. And the consequence of that over time is that that adds up to an impingement upon your freedom. Because you say, I can't think about this. I can't go there. I can't talk to that person. I can't do this kind of thing. I can't do that kind of activity. I can't go to that place. I can't eat that kind of food. I can't breathe in that kind of thing. I can't. And so all of these options get shut off and your world gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And you say, gee, why can't I have the experiences that I want to have? Gee, why can't I manifest what I want to manifest? Well, take a look. Would you say that you would have a greater likelihood of achieving something if you have more options or if you have less options for how to achieve it?